you, and welcome to all of you for joining Labor for Higher Education's hands-off rally and press conference this beautiful afternoon. My name is Margaret Cook, and I am the Public Healthcare and Education Workers Sector Vice President of Communication Workers of America, CWA. I want to thank the members of the press in attendance and recognize all of the unions and ally organizations that have helped make this happen. AAUP, AFT, AFSCME, CWA, NEA, OPEIU, SEIU, AW, UE, HELU, and the JET Collective. I also want to give a shout out to the over 400 workers and activists joining us virtually as they prepare to phone legislators. Cumulatively, these unions I've mentioned represent millions of American workers, and we are proud to stand together in solidarity today to say hands off. Hands off our health care. Hands off our research. And hands off our jobs. This afternoon, you are going to hear from a number of speakers who will each touch on these themes: how the Trump administration and the unelected extremist billionaire Elon Musk have perpetrated illegal, immoral, unethical, and unacceptable attacks on our members, workers across this country, and on millions of people who depend on us for delivering health care, conducting critical research into urgent problems, and the services that we provide every single day in every single state, in every single congressional district in this country. We're going to talk about what these cuts mean, what it means for people currently surviving and fighting illnesses across the country and across the globe. Each one of us has something at stake, and every family has a story. I know mine does. I'm currently watching loved ones fight cancer, and this administration has the shameless audacity to attack cancer patients and research. I know what this means for the admins who do the meticulous paperwork needed to complete projects, for the cafeteria folks who serve meals on campuses, for the custodians who help to ensure the safety of all. And then there are the families of the people who work in these places, the communities that rely on these places. This is so much bigger than what any of us does in our individual lab, at our local schools, or clinics. These attacks are on our lives and livelihoods, and they impact us all. You know, I've sat back and listened to them talk about the need to cut back on the size of our federal government, and to do so by going on a rampage against these workers who are doing some of the most critical and vital work our government does. Well, what they aren't telling you, because they're liars and they're cheats, is that today the federal workforce is the smallest it has ever been since the Great Depression, at just 1.5% of the jobs across this country. Years of plundering public dollars for corporate greed, decades of austerity and slashing and burning the public good has left our government smaller than it's ever been. And these jackals are not done tearing away at it. And for what? Let's cut the racist dog whistles about DEI. Setting aside, for the sake of argument, the fact that we do need to address inequity and injustice, are you really telling me that the cuts to the people working on cancer research is DEI? No. That the cuts to people working to deliver vital aid and care is about DEI? I see right through it, and I know you do too. The reality is we need more public investment, not less. Because what is that investment actually going to do? Well, you're going to hear more about that today but what these workers do is they discover, they educate, they provide care, and they prevent and act in emergencies. In labs and research settings across this country, these workers are discovering cures and treatments for diseases that threaten us all. In schools and campuses, they're educating and helping to elevate the knowledge of future generations. In clinics, hospitals, and public service facilities, they're delivering care to people who need it. And in dire straits, from outbreaks of viruses and forest fires, these are the people who put themselves at risk to protect the rest of us. And that's who Trump and Musk and a bunch of kids without any real-world knowledge and experience are trying to get rid of. Trump and Musk, whose genius is in putting their name on work and breakthroughs of other people and charging rent for it. Well, hands off. This money is the public's, and we demand that it be used for the public good. Not 1 penny less. No, I firmly believe that for us to meet the incredible challenges and realize the potential of this country, we need so much more public investment. That's why we've got to unite across our unions, across our kinds of work, across our communities, to stand up, to speak out, resist these attacks, and defend the services and work we do for the people that we serve and work for. And with that, I'm going to bring up our first speaker, AAU President Todd Wolfson.
Good afternoon. Say it with me now. Hands off our health care.
Hands off our health care.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our jobs.
Hands off our jobs.
One more time. Hands off our health care.
Hands off our health care.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our research.
Hands off our jobs.
Hands off our jobs.
Good afternoon. My name's Todd Wolfson, and I'm president of the American Association of University Professors, National Vice President of the American Federation of Teachers, and a faculty member at Rutgers University. We're here today because we refuse to stand by while Trump and his billionaire allies destroy the institutions that keep people alive, gut the research that saves lives, and strip workers of their jobs and their dignity. And this is not the first time that we have watched Trump attack the very people who keep us alive, workers, educators, and researchers, gutting the public health and higher education systems that stand between us. Not long ago, he and his cronies slashed pandemic funding, leaving hospitals and frontline workers scrambling to save lives with fewer resources. Boo! Now they are hollowing out the NIH, CDC, NSF, and many other federal granting institutions, cutting the legs out from under every American and everybody who's trying to keep us safe. Excuse me. Thank you. And this isn't just about numbers. It's about whether people live and die. These cuts mean cancer patients left without hope, Alzheimer's stealing more loved ones, diabetes going untreated, and heart disease taking lives that could have been saved. It means doctors and scientists forced to abandon research that could cure the next deadly disease. Shame. It means students training to save lives will have their futures ripped away before they even begin. And it means thousands of workers, the researchers in the labs, the nurses at the bedside, the educators in the classroom, the custodians that keep our hospitals running, thrown into uncertainty, struggling to make ends meet, all because billionaires decided their profits matter more than lives. I want to make this really clear to everyone. Trump's reckless cuts will kill. Trump's reckless cuts will kill. If you've ever had a loved one who needed a breakthrough cancer drug, if you ever relied on a vaccine to protect your family, if you ever counted on doctors having the best research at their fingertips, you should be furious. Because the future of medicine is now being dictated by men who see human life as expendable in the pursuit of their wealth and in the pursuit of their power. This isn't about streamlining government or reducing waste. This is about consolidating power at the expense of working people. The America that Trump and Musk are trying to create is not the America I was brought up to believe in and fight for. The America they want to forge is cruel and cold, laying off workers with no severance, cutting funding to health care, education, and critical social services that every American needs, punching down on women and people of color, immigrants, and the LGBTQ community. These are the actions of cruel, weak people. But in response to their cruelty, in the last few weeks, I've seen something very different. I see a country where people want to care for one another. I see people who don't want to punch down, but instead are ready to stand up and fight for America that stands for all of us. And alongside that, I am calling on every single politician, red state and blue state, who claims they stand with working people to prove it. Stand up for our health care, stand up for our jobs, stand up for higher education. And let me remind them of something. We are in every city. We are on every campus, in every hospital, in every lab. And we are not backing down. So if you are angry and you're ready to fight, let them hear it. Say it with me. Hands off our health care. Hands off our research. Hands off our job. We are here today. We'll be here tomorrow, and we'll fight for as long as it takes, because when we stand together, we win. Solidarity forever. And I think our next... Oh, pass it back to Mary.
Thank you, Todd. Okay, next up, we're going to hear from one of our affected worker leaders, Emilia Ventriglia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Emilia. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a PhD researcher, and I study how the brain responds to antidepressants because we need to find better treatments for suicide prevention. I'm also president of our union of 5,000 early career researchers, UAW 2750 at the National Institutes of Health. You know, at the NIH, we are the world leader, the largest public health research institute. Our work at the NIH drives urgent research across the United States on things like we've heard, cancer treatments, chronic pain, addiction, Alzheimer's. Yet right now, that work is under attack. We're under so many freezes right now that stop the American taxpayer from receiving the medical advancements they paid for. This is theft of our future. It's theft of our education, of our science. It's theft of our health and our rights. There's hiring freezes right now that don't just put a pause on recruitment of the next generation of researchers. They're firing NIH researchers through a loophole of people who are recently promoted or are facing routine annual renewals. Every single one of these jobs lost means a cure that's delayed or a breakthrough that may never happen. The life-saving work that UAW members do at the NIH and at universities across the entire United States are being threatened. Nobody voted to halt cancer research. Nobody voted to cut life-saving treatments to heart disease. Diabetes affects millions of Americans. Is that a left-wing agenda? I don't think so. The American people rely on our work Your families rely on your work. My mom relies on our work. This is about our health and our lives, and we're not going to stand while they try to tear it down. Stand up, fight back.
Next up, we have AFT President Randy Weingarten.
Can you imagine that we're even have to say that fighting cancer is not a left-wing fight? Fighting diabetes, Alzheimer's. How did we get to this situation that all of a sudden a president of the United States has taken a hatchet to this building, to the people who work in this building, whose single mission is to try and make people healthy? And look, yes, it's the oligarchy, but it's more than the oligarchy, which is think about why we, if you think about who's here, these are workers from a labor movement who are basically saying to the people in America, we, the scientists, we, the researchers, we, the workers, believe in you, believe in what we do for you, and we are not going to stop fighting for you. That's not left-wing, that's not right-wing, that is America, and that is American values, and I am honored and proud to stand here and stand with all of these workers who are side by side with me right now. It's the craziness, the chaos, the confusion, the cruelty that has been visited upon America since January 20th is intentional, because it is about creating the space and the environment so that the powerful and the rich can take it all. And we are standing here today to both educate and to advocate. Union members, researchers, scientists, to cry out, to make sure Americans know that we are going to fight for their future, fight for their freedom, fight for their health care, regardless, exactly, regardless of what happens to any of us. That is the courage of our convictions. That is what a labor movement does. But let me just, you've already heard some people put the face on it, and I want to say thank you to all of them and all of the people who are going to speak after me. But think about this. Alabama, a state that voted for Trump, received $386 million in NIH grants. It supports almost $1 billion of economic activity in Alabama. And what has happened? It's been cut. Illegally, yes, but it's been cut. Take another state. New Jersey receives about $400 million in grants that support $1.3 billion in economic activity in the state. That has been cut. And then there's Texas, one of the largest states in the country. It receives $1.85 billion in NIH grants, and that supports almost $6 billion in economic activity for the state. I can go on and on in terms of what this is. We're talking about economic activity that colleges and universities do in neighborhoods and communities across the country. Why, in God's name, would anyone try to cut that funding? How cruel could you be? How craven could you be to cut that kind of economic activity that supposedly Donald Trump said he was coming into office to try to help? How is that helping communities in Texas, in Alabama, in New Jersey, or all across the country? And worse, what about that cancer patient who had treatment that then got taken away? How is that helping? How is that helping the diabetes patient? How is that helping the research for Alzheimer's? All this is just cruel. It's cruel. It's craven. It's confusing and it's chaotic and it's intended to make us bow down and say, do whatever you need, Mr. Trump, because we just need you to stop this. Now, are we going to stop fighting for the funds we need? Are we going to stop fighting for the universities and the research institutions we need? Are we going to fight in the courts and the court of public opinion? Are we going to fight in Congress and take it to commercial interests of Elon Musk? Are we going to stop fighting ever? Are we going to keep on making sure that the public and public institutions who fight for this kind of health care are basically given the priority in this country, not billionaires and oligarchs? So, this is only, this week, the first of many. Next week, we'll be fighting about K-12 and higher ed education cuts. We've been fighting about the post office cuts. The one thing we've noticed in all the different things that Donald Trump has cut, the one thing that hasn't gotten cut is the cost of eggs, or the cost of housing, or the cost of health care. So there's a saying in labor about people. We need to be united. We need to have each other's back. We need to fight on behalf of every American. That is what everyone here is doing. In solidarity, in unity, the people united will never be divided. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you.
Thank you, President Weingarten. Next up, we have AFL-CIO President Liz Shuler.
Thank you so much, Margaret. It is an absolute honor to be here with you today, and I'm standing here strong and in support of all the people you see behind me and all the people across this country who are saying enough is enough. And I'm so honored to be here with Randy and Todd and all of our movement leaders. But I really want to thank Amalia, and I want to thank Annika, who you'll hear from in a minute, because sharing their stories takes so much courage in this moment, if you think about what we're grappling with. And I want to just appeal to all the activists who are out there today. I'm here standing on behalf of AFL-CIO, which is a federation of 63 unions, 15 million working people, and we're standing up for all working people. We're standing here today on behalf of our heroes, the higher ed workers, the researchers, the allied workers at colleges and universities, today, you're not just taking them on, you're taking on the entire labor movement of 15 million workers. Now, I heard there's an email going around. Someone wants to know, what is it, the 5 things that someone got done last week if you worked in the federal government? So I thought I'd start with the 5 off the top of my head for Elon. We cure cancer. We treat Alzheimer's. We stop pandemics. We come up with miracle drugs like Ozempic that tens of millions of Americans count on, and we save lives. How about those 5 things? Are those 5 things good enough for you? Because that is what these workers do every single day. Not every week, every single day. So Elon, you don't need to bother with that email. I'll tell you something. If you want to threaten our labs, our equipment, our tools that we need to do these jobs, if you want to say curing cancer is a bad investment for the government to be making, then why don't you give back the $18 billion in federal loans that you have taken over the past 10 years? That's right, no more billionaire welfare. Now, we all know what happens next. They hand over all the research that we paid for as American taxpayers to Big Pharma. They hand it over to private companies and billionaires who are going to leech off our work. And then they make what? Billions more on the backs of our scientists and our researchers, and we say no more. Because that is not okay. So we are telling you, just as Randy said, we are here today because we are going to fight back. Are we going to stand up and fight back? Yes. We're going to fight like our jobs depend on it. Yes. We're going to fight back like our lives depend on it, literally. Because they do. We are going to fight like hell. And look around you today, because this is power. We could reach millions and millions of people across this country, because we know the best way to fight back against bullies is to band together. And we build our power. Are you ready to build our power? That's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Up next, we have AFSCME Secretary Treasurer Alyssa McBride.
Union family, let me hear you if you are ready to take a stand for our communities, for our co-workers, and for our country. I'm the Secretary Treasurer at AFSCME, and we are proud to be 1.4 million members strong, thousands of them in hospitals and universities and veterans' homes. We show up for our communities with care and with courage and with compassion. And we're proud to link arms in solidarity with you here in D.C. and virtually those who are tuning in. We are the frontline workers who keep our communities safe and strong. These are researchers and lab techs and janitors and maintenance workers. Because when they say indirect costs, you know what they're talking about? Human beings who clean labs and keep generators going and maintain special equipment, because we make science happen. Like at Oregon Health and Science University, which is a research powerhouse full of brilliant minds, heads, and hearts and hands, putting an end to Alzheimer's and cancer and opioid addiction. Those are AFSCME members like Lynn Swarbrick, who's been taking on tuberculosis for 23 years. And her funding comes from the NIH. Slashing those costs is a direct hit on her co-workers, but most importantly on our nation's capacity to fight deadly disease. And that's why we've got to stop them from slashing through our healthcare systems, our research, our beloved healthcare system, because more Americans will get sick, more infectious disease will spread, more medical progress will grind to a halt, and more of our neighbors will be in harm's way. Because we prevent disease, we prevent death, we prevent disaster, and we prevent disinformation. So we're here with a message. We will not be silent. We will not sit down. We will not step back. Because in our labor movement, when you take on any of us, you take on all of us. We are fueled by a power that they can't stop, and that's people power. We've got to stand together against this assault. So let me ask you right now to commit, to get organized and stay connected to each other, linking arms today and every day, to communicate not just with our allies and within our workplaces, but with our elected officials, especially today, because today we can reach our members of Congress to say, vote no on the House budget resolution that will cut public services to give tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy and giant corporations. We have the power. Call your members of Congress. Go see them if you're in D.C. Get on the phone if you're out there across the country. And most important, we've got to build our union power by asking other workers to join us in our labor movement, because we are the only people who can stop this assault. Thank you for showing up, for standing strong, for speaking out in solidarity.
Thank you, Alyssa. Next up, we have UAW International Board Region 6 Director Mike Miller.
Good afternoon, everyone. UAW represents 5,000 fellows at NIH and over 100,000 workers at universities and research institutes across the U.S., many of whom are funded by federal grants. From finding cures to rare diseases, cancers, and Alzheimer's, to restoring vision to the blind and developing non-addictive opioid pain relievers, their work is saving lives and making them better every day. Their work also has huge economic benefits. Every dollar invested into NIH research equates to $2.46 in economic activity. In 2023, NIH funding supported over 400,000 jobs in the United States and created nearly $100 billion in economic activity. During Trump's first term as president, NIH funding increased by over $10 billion, which translated to an increase in 60,000 jobs and injected $20 billion into communities across every single state. And so much of the research conducted at the NIH and at universities funded by the federal government is research that the private sector simply cannot or will not undertake because it's too risky or too early stage. But this critical research enables accelerating scientific innovation and economic growth, and it has led to some of the most important medical breakthroughs in human history. But the Trump administration and its billionaire backers are right now engaged in an all-out war on research workers. They're trying to gut critical funding, fire workers, censor life-saving research, attack higher education, roll back principles of scientific integrity, and impose research grant freezes that sabotage health innovation and research. The Trump administration is doing all of this in the name of savings and efficiency, but we know the truth. The truth is that these actions will destroy jobs, decimate communities, slam the brakes on ongoing clinical trials, and set the U.S. back decades in terms of training the next generation of world-class scientists like Emilia and Annika, who you're about to hear from. The truth is that every single day, this chaos and these cuts rule over our health research infrastructure, has devastating long-term impacts in the fight against chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and so much more. And the truth is that every single day that chaos and cuts rule, the only ones benefiting are the billionaires and corporations who want complete control over our health economy so they can make massive profits off the backs of workers and patients. The new Health and Human Services Secretary says we can't trust Big Pharma to do what is best in the best interest of the American people or to prioritize anything over their own profits. Well, the UAW agrees with that message. Drug prices in this country are already astronomical, and Big Pharma and other corporate actors have consistently stood in the way of policies like Medicare for All that would actually bring costs down and improve access to quality care. But if you want to stand up against profiteering and corruption in the healthcare industry, you don't slash research in the public interest. And you don't go after the federal workers and university workers who make it happen. Those attacks only serve to further privatize our health economy. What we're seeing from this administration is a corporate power grab, plain and simple, and it's one that will only make people sicker in the long run. But we workers see this power grab for what it is, and we're fighting back. Tens of thousands of researchers last week have formed unions in recent years and have begun organizing against the cuts to critical research funding, including hundreds who are on a phone bank right now calling their members of Congress to urge them not to cut this funding. And there were tens of thousands who were in the street, many of us included, all last week, protesting the same thing. Our power is growing, and support for research funding goes across all sectors of the UAW and the U.S. economy. Last week, UAW President Fain was meeting with auto workers in Toledo, Ohio, and a worker came up to him and relayed a story about his young twins who had a rare disease and were treated at the NIH Clinical Center in Bethesda. Funding for NIH and for scientific research is a working-class issue that impacts people across all walks of life, and we're calling on members of Congress from both parties to step up and fight back.
Thank you, Mike. Next up, we have another affected worker leader, Annika Barber from Rutgers AAUP AFT.
Hey folks, thanks for coming out today. I fell in love with science when I was 10 years old, and in 2020, I got my dream job as a real scientist at Rutgers. And like my sign says, I would rather be in lab right now. But what's got us out of the lab? And we have some serious problems, because just last year, I got my first big National Institutes of Health grant to fund my research. The National Institutes of Health is the largest single public funder of biomedical research in the world. RFK Jr. says he wants to make America healthy again. What past is he looking to when he says again? A past without vaccines? A past without insulin? A past without chemotherapy? American biomedical researchers are in their labs right now making discoveries and moving forward clinical trials that will lead to the medical breakthroughs we will take for granted. And to do that, we need a government that continues to invest in scientific research, not tax cuts for billionaires. My lab uses fruit flies to understand how aging, dietary stress, and traumatic brain injury disrupt physiology and behavior. And when you think about human health, fruit flies might not be what comes to mind. But I'm here to convince you that fruit flies save lives. American scientists have won 4 Nobel Prizes for research conducted in fruit flies, 4 Nobel Prizes for research conducted in worms. These invertebrates are critical to the fundamental research that leads us to understand what genes are, what mutations are, how environmental factors cause disease, and lead to the breakthroughs that have allowed us to have year-on-year improvements in cancer prognosis in America. My lab works on traumatic brain injury because while science has improved the survivorship from traumatic brain injury, those survivors experience a host of problems. And brain injury survivors aren't just people like our veterans. More than half of Americans are people over 55 falling at home. How many of us have someone over 55 who could fall? How many of us are going to one day hope to be over 55 and not fall? Decades of work in rodents have yielded attempts at therapeutics that have all failed in clinical trials. So my lab is going back to the drawing board and conducting large-scale screens in fruit flies that will let us find new genes and new biological targets to serve as potential therapeutic interventions for brain injury survivors. These new therapeutics, they're probably 20 years away. But if we don't start creating that basic knowledge now, what will we draw from in 20 years? You taxpayers are paying for us to create this knowledge for you. Federally funded basic science research is a pipeline for medical breakthroughs. Without the work we're doing in our labs, in bacteria and worms and flies and squid and even Gila monsters, we would not have medical treatment for cancer or diabetes or pain. For each pharma company that announces a new treatment, there are decades of research that you paid for that are allowing that new treatment to come to market. Trump's attack on basic science is cutting off the pipeline of knowledge and talent that will yield the breakthroughs that we need in 20 years and in 50 years. Sure, we might get the next breakthrough next year, but what about the one after that? Letting the American scientific well run dry by cutting off our funding will not make America healthy again. It is only making us sicker with every passing day.
Thank you, Annika. Next up, we have UE General President Carl Rosen.
Good afternoon, everybody. UE represents 30,000 graduate workers at research universities across the country. Our members do the crucial work in labs and classrooms that allow our society to make advancements, as you've been hearing, in human health, to address human needs, to literally save lives. Cuts to research funding are a direct theft from working people for the benefit of the billionaires who are now running the federal government. It's a theft from working people because thousands and thousands will lose their jobs. But it is also stealing a better future from all working people, a future where the research of today results in healthcare breakthroughs that can cure the illnesses that so many Americans are afflicted with. A future where the research of today can fix the poisoned environment that so many of us are forced to live in. A future where the research of today can help address mental health issues, drug abuse, and other problems that end lives too early in this country. Instead, the Trump administration is trying to slash research funding so they can divert the money into huge tax cuts for the billionaires who are pulling the strings. Is that right? No! Is that right? No! Americans didn't vote for funding cuts to basic research. The money that Trump and Musk are trying to cut was appropriated by Congress, the body to which the Constitution gives the power of the purse. In fact, the last time Trump was in office, he tried to cut research funding. Congress not only refused to cut it, but actually added additional money. Congress has always funded basic research because Americans need and want our nation to be able to continue to make advancements in health and science. Trump promised working people a better economy, but pushing through cuts that could force universities to lay off thousands of people will make the economy worse, not better. Many universities are the largest employers in their area, especially in rural states, and layoffs will do nothing good for the local economies that depend on them. Trump and Musk are making these cuts in a totally undemocratic fashion because they know the American people don't support them. Congress appropriated this money, and Congress needs to step in and reassert their authority. And we, the American people, need to put pressure on every member of Congress, regardless of their party, to stand up and say to Trump and Musk that our country is a democracy, not an oligarchy, and that we won't tolerate their enriching themselves by stealing our future. Are we ready to fight? Are we ready to fight? Solidarity.
Thank you, Carl. Next up, we have NEA Councils for Higher Education, Alec Thompson.
Good afternoon. I'm proud to be standing here today as a community college professor, a long-serving NEA member, and the newly elected president of the National Council for Higher Education. Thank you. We're here today because dramatic changes have been proposed which threaten our colleges and universities. These institutions are critical to the very health of our nation as they provide transformational experiences that not only positively reshape the life trajectories of our individual students, but they also serve to lift up and improve the entire fabric of our society. The current crop of proposals, eliminating the Department of Ed, stripping funding from college and universities, rolling back civil rights protections, represent a deliberate effort to reduce the importance and impact that colleges and universities have in shaping American life. Our system of education is facing a punitive, vindictive, and amoral retrenchment whose intentions stand in direct opposition to their core mission. The proposed changes will not improve our nation's higher education system. Instead, they will have the opposite effect. Colleges will become less accessible, students' learning will be narrowed, and the overall quality of life in America will be markedly diminished. The arbitrary and capricious rulemaking efforts surrounding federal grants threaten to pull hundreds of millions of dollars from colleges and universities. Make no mistake, this is a deliberate and massive defunding of higher education. Gutting the funding of these schools means that college will become more expensive, and students who, alongside their families, lack the necessary resources to self-fund a collegiate experience will be forced into a financial world with higher costs and more private predatory loan offerings. Costs will not be reduced. They will simply shift the students to the raising of tuition and fees. Beyond the cost to individual students, critical medical research you've heard today on areas such as cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, viral pandemics are all being directly harmed by the Trump administration's actions. Reducing the work in these areas that not only has immediate negative health consequences, but creates a legacy of damage, right? Limiting the education and training of tomorrow's leaders in these critical areas. The simple reality is that the colleges and universities represented here today are in the forefront of innovative research that improves the lives of people here and throughout the world. So what then gives the energy to these cruel proposals? They are driven by people who embrace efficiency over equality, privilege in place of opportunity, and self-interest over community. However, we are collectively committed to pushing back against these unwanted destructive measures. The fact of the matter is we do not live in a society where policy is unilaterally dictated. We do have a voice. We do have power. We can and will fight. We can and will win. So let's stand together, preserve these institutions. We need them and they need you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. And last but certainly not least, Levin Kim from UAW and the chair of Higher Education Labor United, HELU.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Levin Kim. I am the president of UAW 4121. We proudly represent 8,000 academic workers at the #1 publicly funded university in the United States, the University of Washington. I'm also the chair of Higher Ed Labor United, an unprecedented coalition of labor unions that represent workers from coast to coast and wall to wall across higher ed in the United States. I'm really proud to be standing here today alongside all of the fighters and all of the academics that you've heard today that are building the America of tomorrow. At my worksite, the University of Washington, which is one of the highest, which gets in one of the highest amounts of federal grant money across the U.S., there are workers right now that are uncertain of our future because of these reckless thefts from the American government and the Trump administration that is wreaking havoc on the working class. Across our campus, PhD admissions are being cut, being stalled. There are hiring freezes, and make no mistake, the theft that is going on right before our eyes is going to have an impact for generations to come. But at Higher Labor United and all of the unions that are here today, we are here fighting because we have a different vision for how the future should work. We believe in two simple truths. One is that public money should go to public goods. Secondly, we believe that our shared future is worth investing in and fighting for. That is why we are here today, and that is why we're going to continue to keep fighting. And our message is clear. To our work sites, to our employers, we have one message. Follow our leadership. Center the voices of your workers when you're joining us in this fight. As workers, we know and we make these institutions run that makes America run. We call on our institutions and our employers to do right by us and follow our leadership. We call on our elected representatives to, again, follow our leadership and stand up to the billionaire class. Come on, guys. These are the two simple demands that we have for every one of us. And for all of the workers that are out here and all of the workers that are listening in, join your union, get organized, and from wall to wall and coast to coast, join the fight by joining Higher Labor United and joining in the fight. As organizers, as a part of a growing and fighting labor movement, we know how to build the future with our own voices and our own work. We know, just like my local name stands for, that through one-to-one organizing, for one-to-one, we can build a future that actually centers our needs and deserves to have us in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Levin. And again, thank you all for coming. My name is Margaret Cook, and I am the Public Health Care and Education Worker Sector Vice President of CWA, Communication Workers of America. And one of our favorite slogans is, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight. Thank you all.
United will never be